Hello and welcome to this month's National Youth Film Academy Top 5 with me, Dan Charles, where each month we take a look at the 5 very best films submitted by our members across the country. The winner of Top 5 will go to be screened at one of our regional screenings throughout the year. In this episode we take a look back at the films featured in our regional Wednesday showcase. Coming up, there's Love on the Dance Floor in Tom Clover's Disco Dynamite. A young journalist comes face to face with a manipulative tyrant as she fights to expose the truth behind his corrupt government. And Brendan McCallion tells us the story of a young man living in isolation to care for his sick father. But when his sister returns home to tell him that things need to change, he struggles to accept the truth and that she only wants the best for him and their father. Without further ado, we go to our first film, at number 5 with Silver Plains. Directed by 20-year-old Finley Clifton, Silver Plains tells a story of a relationship between a father and a son. The opening of Silver Plains sees a father getting creative in order to ensure his son has a Christmas present. He builds a silver plane out of scrap metal, and the toy becomes a symbol of love between a father and a son throughout the piece. The film has a very limited amount of dialogue, relying on the use of music and physical clues from the actors to express the mood and guide the audience through the story. Silver Plains is an impressive piece of cinema, especially given that Finley wrote, directed and edited the piece independently. The piece is testament to what the director can achieve using just sound and body language, and we would be interested to see what Finley goes on to do with next, given his creativity and flair for putting together a well-told story with such minimal dialogue usage. Overall, Silver Plains is a well put together and engaging film that really pulls on the heartstrings of the audience. At number 4 we have Fantopia, directed by Lewis Evans. Lewis wrote Fantopia alongside fellow Salford student Sam Davies. Through the film we are transported to the magical world of Fantopia, a world brought to life through the imagination of a group of young children seeking to escape the real world. Fantopia is an ambitious film with interwoven storylines. The children's journey through the mystical land, and as the story unfolds we learn more about their lives in the real world. The cinematography allows for smooth transitions between the parallel storylines, and the viewers are able to pick up on the subtle references between each character pair, helping them to understand how the children's circumstances influence the characters in the game. The acting is believable from both children and the adult characters. Those based in the fantasy storylines are larger than life, but that suits the setting and only enhances the piece. The decision to make a fantasy film was certainly a risk. When not properly executed, they can often look low budget and badly put together, but the team certainly rose to the challenge on Fantopia and pulled off a great film. The colourful clothing successfully reflects the imagery of similar fantasy roleplay games, and the use of computer graphics with much of the magic looks professional. At number 3 we have No Collusion. Directed by James Walker and written by National Youth Film Academy member Tom McIntosh. No Collusion is based in a dystopian Britain where a corrupt Prime Minister, Dave Eldrick, has taken power with the support of a mysterious medical company, Celludyne. As the country is faced with a lethal virus, Eldrick and Celludyne promise a solution to the great problem. But for journalist June Welsh, played by Anna Bailey, something just isn't right about the new Prime Minister. After reporting on the suspected collusion between Eldrick's government and Celludyne, she's invited to interview him. The two engage in a war of words over his policies, motivations for governing, and the rumours of corruption surrounding his rise to power. Anna Bailey makes her acting debut in this film and impresses in her role of June Welsh. June is a strong character that isn't scared to question the claims made by Eldrick and his government. But when she finds herself face to face with the man, she seems aware she's a little bit out of her depth, and Anna does really well to portray this. David Eldrick, played by Richard Oliver, is a strong representation of a populist leader with nods to both previous and current political figures. Richard is able to quickly transition between the two sides of his character, confidently addressing the camera like a true politician, and showing a much more sinister and intolerant side when speaking privately. He commands all the scenes he is in, which plays very well into the dynamics between the media-trained Prime Minister and the much younger, less experienced journalist. No Collusion is able to touch on ongoing political issues and real-world events without sliding into the obvious satire or being too preachy, whilst having a strong enough storyline so the references don't draw attention away from the narrative. The cinematography is done well, and the sporadic shots around London throughout the film successfully hide the fact much of it was actually shot in Manchester. At number 2, we have Brendan McCallion's emotional piece, Blackwater. The film is about Tommy, a young man who has spent most of his life caring for his father, who is suffering with dementia. But when Tommy's sister Dylan returns home to help care for their dad, she discovers that Tommy isn't coping as well as she'd thought, and he has been living in isolation while struggling to accept his father's condition is getting worse. Dylan does her best to help Tommy and encourages him to take more time for himself, but he feels she is interfering with their father's care and pushes her away. Over time, he begins to accept Dylan is right and things need to change, not just for their father's sake, but also for himself. Blackwater is a heart-wrenching story which will feel very similar to anybody who has experienced a family member going through dementia. The dynamic between father and daughter really stands out in this film. Sophie Campbell, who plays Dylan, does really well to portray a daughter who deeply cares about her family, but also recognises she needs to live her own life. The father, played by Patrick McKinley, is an accurate portrayal of somebody in the later stages of dementia. He does really well to capture the nuances and subtle elements of the character. The film is very well shot, and the use of music brilliantly captures the mood of the film. Brendan is able to tackle a difficult and emotional subject matter and does so very well. And finally, we're here at number 1, we have Disco Dynamite, directed by Tom Clover. Disco Dynamite is a colourful film about Gary, a former roller disco champion who vowed to never skate again. Now, stuck in his dead-end job at the diner, his life is turned upside down when he meets the new girl, Sally. Disco Dynamite is a really fun film, full of wacky 80s American themes crammed into a modern-day British setting. There are many funny moments, and the whole piece demonstrates great comic timing. Tom shows he is able to use comedy elements in the piece to complement the narrative, and the audience never feels that the laughs are distracting from the overall storyline. Overall, Disco Dynamite is a professionally made film with strong acting and a great soundtrack. Congratulations, Tom Clover and the rest of the team, as this month's winner, Disco Dynamite will feature at the next National Youth Film Academy regional screening. Tickets will be available soon, so stay tuned. Thanks for watching this episode of Top 5. Join us again next time as we look back at more great films by our talented members. If you want your film to be featured, find out how to apply on our website. Most importantly, don't forget to like and share and subscribe to the National Youth Film Academy channel for more great film reviews, live streams and exclusive content. Thanks for watching again. I've been Dan Charles. Take care.